Hello and welcome. We are in Yerushalmi Yomi, Berachos, Daf Yud Ches and Aleph. I'm going to share two thoughts on the page, which I think are very interesting. This is in the Oz V'Hadar print. So the first one is that on the Gemara says on Amud Beis that Reb Chanina says Kol Masha Kasav Bazeh Kasav Bazeh. Very fascinating thing. The Gemara says that according to this opinion, a person only has to concentrate on Shema. We know that Shema is comprised nowadays. The way we say it is the first paragraph of Shema, then Bahaya, then Vayomer, which is Tzitzis and Yitzias and Sraim. So, according to one opinion, you only have to concentrate. There's a machlokas in the Gemara when you have to concentrate. Is it just for the first pasuk? Is it the first three psukim? Is it the whole thing? Is it the first paragraph and the last paragraph, etc., which is a whole fascinating thing. Obviously, it's optimal to concentrate during everything. We know that for Shemona Esrei, the halacha is brought down in the Shulchan Aruch that a person should concentrate at least for the first bracha. Okay, so for Shema, according to this opinion in the Gemara that it brings down, is that a person has to concentrate on the first paragraph, but if he doesn't concentrate for the second, he's Yotze, and he has to concentrate on the third. So the Gemara says, what's up with the second paragraph that you're just ignoring it? So Reb Chanina explains, Kol Masha Kasav Bazeh Kasav Bazeh. Whatever is written in this passage is written in that passage, which means that if you look at them, they are very similar. V'Hafta and Vayomer, when you say Shema, you'll think about it yourself, or grab a sitter and you'll see. They are very, very similar, and we're going to talk about some of those similarities. So therefore, if you already said the first paragraph and you concentrated in Shema, so then when you get to Vahaya, if you didn't concentrate, but you don't have to go back. This is not halacha l'maisa, by the way, at all, and we're just discussing what the Gemara says. So what's interesting is that if the first paragraph already includes everything in the second paragraph, then it seems to be stronger than the second paragraph in the sense that if you only said the first one, then you already nichlal the second one. So could we explain that in a deeper way, which I would like to do that. In order to do that, I want to go a little bit further, where the Gemara says the following thing. Amar Rabbi Ilah, he says, what's the difference between the first and the second paragraph? Harishon, the first paragraph, liyachid. It's talking to every individual, which I'll get to in a second. Va'asheni letzibor. And the second one is talking about to the congregation. Then he explains Harishon letalmud. The first one is to learn. Va'asheni is lemaisa. And the second one is to practice. Okay, what is going on over here? So, if we look at Shema in my handy dandy sitter, so the first paragraph says, I don't know if you can see this, okay? The first ha'ara is that it says three things. With your heart, lavavcha, navshcha, your soul, and your money, mo'decha, and your everything. The second paragraph says, right? It says you should serve Hashem l'avdo, b'chol levavchem, your heart, v'chol nafshechem, and your soul. What happens to your money? Okay? Not only that, it's very interesting. Then money is mentioned. Okay, but it doesn't say you should love it that way. You should love Hashem with your money. Now, also, it's easier to explain it with me just holding this. Take a sitter and you'll look. Also, in the first paragraph, it says b'chol levavcha, singular, all of your heart, b'chol nafshecha, all of your soul, b'chol miyodecha. It's talking to one individual. That's liyachid. And in the second paragraph, it says b'chol ulavdo, b'chol levavchem, with all of your hearts. That's a tzibor. V'chol nafshechem. Now, if you look at the Mefarshim in the Yerushalmi, this might not at all be what it's even referring to, but there are some that do explain it this way. So, what's going on over here? So, if you look at a very, very good Maramakom, is the Rechaim Volozhin Nefesh HaChaim. Beautiful shtickle in Shar Aleph, Perek Ches. Very, very briefly, he brings down the Gemara in Berachos Daf Lamed Hey, that Bavli, that says machlokes between Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai and Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel holds Hanig B'hem Minhag Derech Eretz, that it's a mitzvah to work, L'Shem Shemaim, whatever that means, etc., etc. And that's V'yasaf Ganecha, which is, by the way, the second paragraph of Bahaya, that a person should work. But Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai says, Chas v'shalom, what's going to be with Torah? That's a curse. And he says, no, a person has to learn all day, and Hashem will take care of him. Okay. Beyond the scope of this conversation, there's so much to say on that. So, says Rechaim Volozhin, that's what's going on over here. That the first paragraph, Shema, is written for Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. Therefore, it says, you shall love Hashem, and it's in the Gemara. Sorry, I skipped a step. The Gemara says, Harbe asu Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai v'lo also biyadam. That people tried to be like Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai and they didn't succeed. Which the Ritva there explains that it was hard. Some people were able to succeed, but most people weren't, and therefore the Hamon Am, the halacha is, you can look in Kufnun Vav in the Mishabura, and also 231. Mishabura also paskins like Rabbi Shmuel, but of course there's a mile of those that can be like Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, of course. So in the first paragraph of Shema, who are the people that love Hashem? B'chol that says you should love Hashem, the Yichidim, they are able to even love Hashem in all three of those madrigas. V'chol avavcha, with all your individual heart. V'chol nafshcha, with all your soul. V'chol meodecha, even with your money, that you're able to say, the Rebbeinu Shalom, you'll provide my money. But in the second shot, that's in the second paragraph, of Ahaya, that's written for the Rabbim, for the Hamonam. So there it says, V'chol avavcha, v'chol nafshcha, that's how you have to serve Hashem. But it doesn't say B'chol meodecha, me'udchem, because in there, that there's another tzivoy, which is v'nasati v'yasafti ganecha, that you're going to work, and therefore there might be a little bit of a chisaron in that. There's a very famous nitziv on this as well, in Hamak Davar on Chumash, Parshas Vayakal or Pekudei, beautiful shtickle on this madrega, etc. Not for now, but Ayin Shalom, if you want a nice maramakom, it's a very, very nice shtickle. Okay, so therefore, that's what's being said over here, about this point of Yachid and Rabbim, according to and how we could reconcile it. I believe that might answer why, if you said the first paragraph, it's better, so to speak, than the second. It's Nichalid, because it's a higher madriga. It's a Rishon Marachais madriga. Now, here's what's interesting, though. According to the Yerushalmi, the first one is the Talmud, is talking about learning, and the second one is to do. So what's the pshat over there? So it very well could be that the pshat is that on that madrega of Rishon Marachai, even if you're not there, you should still at least be able to learn it and know that it's there, so you could aspire towards it. Whereas for Rabbi Shmuel's mahalik of Hanik ba Minag Derech Eretz and Yosaf Ganecha, there that's the fulfillment. There's a mitzvah that if someone that's the simplest mitzvah and the simplest common denominator of what a person's allowed to do. So just very interesting thoughts about Shema. And now I want to move on to one more ha'ara, which ties in, but it's different. By the way, we're back to Shema. I know we went to Shema Esrei, and we're back to Shema again. So there's a very interesting Gemara, and we find it in the Bavli in a slightly different version. But here's the story in the Yerushalmi on Yud Chesed Beis. Rav Shal Rabbi Chia bar Rabba. Rav asked Rabbi Chia bar Rabba the following question. He says, "I never see Rebbe except Omach Hashemayim." So Rabbi Chia answered, "No, Kad." Techamine Yahav Yadei Alapoi, when you see him put his hands on his face, he's Makabal Omach L'Shemaim at that exact moment. Okay, and then let me just finish it. So then he says, but what about Yitzias Mitzrayim? He's not, I don't hear him saying that. Fine, maybe he's saying Shema quickly. What about Yitzias Mitzrayim? So he told him back, no. Less Efsher Jelo Yata Mili. Is there ever a time that it's inconceivable that Rebbe doesn't at least mention Yitzias Mitzrayim sometime while talking? Therefore, he's Yotzei it that way, meaning he's holding like the opinions that you don't actually have to read the words. Okay, so the first ta'ara that is that this Yerushalmi is actually the Makar that you're supposed to cover your eyes with Shema, and you could take a look in Orach Chaim Samach Aleph, and you'll see this there, that this Yerushalmi is actually brought down. It's a source. But if you read the words carefully, the Yerushalmi actually says, Yahiv Yadei Alapoi, he puts his hands on his face. Normally we take our right hand, we say Shema. Okay, which is maramis to a lot of things that even though we're covering our eyes and it looks dark, Hashem's chesed is with us. But here it's yadoi, it's his hands. And I saw Shmuel Arbach Zatzal say Shema, and he covered both of his hands. And I've seen other Gedolim actually do this. It's interesting if you start to notice it. Most people do it like this. The Kaleb Rebbe, who said Shema with so many people, in public, that was his Kabbalah for the Holocaust. I saw him, I was in the room with him. I said Shema with him multiple times. He always covered his hands with his right hands. Agav, it's interesting that every time you say Shema, you have to cover your eyes, or is it only when you're saying it to be the Kabbalah of Shema? Anyway, so that's one ha'ara. But the Lashon the Yerushalmi seems to be saying both hands. I don't think you should be weird, Mishum Yura, and go and cover your eyes, but that is the Lashon that he uses both of his hands. But what's the point? The point is to concentrate, according to most people. The point is to concentrate. There's a Rabbeinu Yonah on the Rif in Berachos that he seems to explain the pshat is that he doesn't want people to see his eyes moving different directions because you're being Mamlech Hashem on the Shemayim and Aretz and four directions. But anyway, Ayin Shem. But the point is that that the actual Lashon is that he covered it with both hands, and also this idea of covering it is obviously for concentration, which is the simple understanding. So therefore, you don't have to use both hands in order to concentrate. You could do one. Maybe it's you're holding a sitter, which by the way, where Shmuel was davening Baal Peh, so which is a lot of old people from the olden times daven Baal Peh because they were talking to Hashem directly. Anyway, so for him, maybe he wasn't holding a sitter or wasn't going to interrupt him. For us, we have to read. So maybe it's better that we keep one hand on the place, or at least holding our sitter and one hand with our hands. One more thing I want to say is that what does that mean? It's inconceivable that Rebbe doesn't mention Yitzias Mitzrayim. What does that mean? So I wanted to say like this, that we know that Chazal tell us that Yitzias Mitzrayim is mentioned 50 times in the Torah, and the Gra, it's a Zohar, and the Gra actually has a list of all those 50 places, and I know Reb Brevda has a whole shtickle on it as well, where some of them are missing. What does that mean? There are Memches Sorry. There are 50 levels of bina, of understanding in the world. The Gemara in Rosh Hashanah, Bavli Yerushalmi in Rosh Hashanah says. So what does that mean? That means that there are 50 angles of Torah, and every angle of Torah, l'chora, somehow is Merames Yitzias Mitzrayim. What does that mean? Yitzias Mitzrayim is the ultimate revelation of Hashem's presence in the world. So therefore, that's what he's saying, that in every shtickle Torah, whatever I'm learning, it has one of the 50 Shari Bina in it. So I'm always going to come on to something that's to do with Yitzias Mitzrayim. Hanaka, giving a gift to your Avadim, we learn it from Yitzias Mitzrayim. How to treat people, we learn it from Yitzias Mitzrayim. Kabbalah Samach Shemayim, in certain ways. The things we do, Shabbos, Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim. So I challenge you, Rechaim Kanevsky wrote a sefer showing how Kol Torah Kula ties into Eglah Rufa in Nachal Esan. Kol Shekain, you could write a sefer how the entire Torah is all revolving around this mitzvah of Yitzias Mitzrayim, remembering how Hashem is in charge. But that could be the remez here, that it's impossible that his Torah won't overlap on it and talk about it, because the Torah itself is actually, and I talked about this earlier, the Torah itself brings out this idea that we believe in Hashem and we believe in Yitzias Mitzrayim. Thank you for joining. Have a great day.